Welcome, everybody. We've got a great ASEA 5 tonight with the amazing Russell Mariani. Russell, where are you at?
I live in South Hadley, Massachusetts, Western Massachusetts.
That's cool. Jim Glenn is with us in Dallas. He'll be here for just a minute or two, and then he's going to bug out and go to a meeting.
Yeah. Not just any old meeting, an ASEA meeting.
The meeting.
Absolutely. Well, welcome everybody. I'm going to turn this over to the amazing Lee Osler and to the amazing Russell Mariani. Maureen Hayes and my beautiful wife Ann are downstairs waiting for me, so I'm going to bow out. I will be back towards the end to shut things down. So guys, have a blast.
There we go.
Good to go.
Well, welcome everybody to the Friday evening of ASEA 5, July 16. Jim Glenn is just bugged out and he's in Dallas, and so we'll excuse him and his lovely wife Ann as they're attending an ASEA function in Dallas, learning and training. The same with Dr. Maureen Hayes, who's based in Galveston. She's also gone to Dallas to that meeting, so we'll excuse her tonight. But we have with us tonight Russell Mariani from the great state of Massachusetts in the United States. We're glad to have him here. My name is Dr. Lee Osler, and I'm based out of Richland, Washington. I'm a dentist and obviously one of the co-hosts here on the ASEA 5. As you come in, those that are just coming in, go ahead and tell us hello in the chat room. And as we go through tonight's meeting, we'll try to pay some attention to the chat box. If you have some questions for myself or Russell, we'd be encourage you to type those in and we'll get to them. Well, tonight we've got an exciting, I guess you can call this topic exciting, especially when it's working well. But we've got one of the great national experts on gastrointestinal health, GI health. And he's here to help us talk about all things regular, how to keep it regular and how to keep the gut health good. And I think I'd like to start off, Russell, with maybe having you give your background. I know you've got a book out that people can go to on Amazon, so we'll make reference to that later. If people want more information, we'll again reference that a couple of times. And you've got a website, I'll just give it up front. It's called the Center for Functional Nutrition.net. Did I get that right?
Yes, that's correct.
The Center for Functional Nutrition.net is his website. And so we've got an author, we've got a great website to look at. We've got a pretty fun topic to talk about tonight. And it's because gut health is so core to our overall health. And so we're going to get into that. I've got a lot of questions for Russell, but let's start, Russell, if you could maybe, how did you get into this? If you could, what is your background and how did this happen for you, that you developed this considerable expertise with gastrointestinal things, disease and treatments and so forth?
Yes, thank you, Lee. And hello, everybody. Welcome to our Friday night ASEA 5. And what's the phrase? Necessity is the mother of invention. So at the ripe old age of 18, I had radically changed my diet about a year before. Some of my high school athletic coaches were encouraging me to go on a high protein diet. And so I did that. And within a couple of months, I definitely started experiencing some uncomfortable GI symptoms, but I didn't really connect the dots, and it was a minor discomfort, but take a little Pepto-Bismol or take a little Kaopectate, and those are the over-the-counter meds back in the day in the 70s, in the early 1970s. But then things continued to get worse, and then one particular day things got really bad, and I won't give you the gory details, but within the next couple of days, I was at a gastroenterologist and I had a colonoscopy, at the end of which I was told that it looked like I had colon cancer. They had to do more tests and they were going to get back to me. And when I went back 3 weeks later, the doctor said, well, I have somewhat good news. It doesn't look like it's cancer yet, but you have a precancerous condition called ulcerative colitis, and it's medically incurable. So you're going to have to be on medication every day for the rest of your life. And you may need surgery before you're 30 years old, potentially to remove your colon. So this was very bizarre to me to have this information put in front of me. And I kept insisting with the doctor that day, I kept asking, are you sure that that this condition doesn't have anything to do with diet? Now, I didn't know anything at all at the time, but it just made sense, especially since I had so radically changed my diet. And the team of doctors kept insisting to me that diet had nothing to do with my condition. And I kept saying, well, what causes this? What causes this? And they said, well, we really don't know, potentially stress. And of course, I was very stressed out with this news. Now, we didn't have the internet back then, so I went to the local library and looked up everything I could about the connections between diet and cancer, and diet and colon cancer in particular, and found in several books information that led to the conclusion that a lack of dietary fiber was a major contributing factor in the development of these inflammatory bowel conditions. So I said, bingo, that's me. If I ate any vegetables in the entire previous year that I was on that high protein diet, it was totally by accident and not by design. So I simply changed my diet from this crazy high protein diet and started eating lots of fresh vegetables and cooked whole grains. And I still had small amounts of meat and other foods, but the addition of the cooked grains and vegetables made a big difference. And literally within about a month, my symptoms started clearing up. And that really got my attention. I completed my undergraduate education at university, but as soon as I got out, I went to a different type of school. And again, back in the late 1970s, you couldn't go to a normal university and get a degree in what we call today functional medicine or functional nutrition, or nutrition that incorporated whole foods. Everything was just very different. And the whole all the medical schools were focused on primarily, pharmaceutical interventions. Anyway, I went back to school and got a degree in nutrition and learned how to use a holistic approach, a whole foods approach. And so since 1980, I have been in private practice helping other people to learn the fundamentals that I learned in that 7-year period from 1973 to 1980, so that I was able to completely restore my overall health and my GI health in particular. In fact, I've been symptom-free for over 45 years. And if you talk to a GI doctor who has had patients with inflammatory bowel, especially colitis and ulcerative colitis, to not have a flare, to not have a return of symptoms in 45 years is pretty unusual, okay? And so today my practice is probably 70%, 75% people who have similar type of inflammatory bowel conditions. And I walk them through a process that I learned over the years to help them reestablish normal functioning of their GI tract.
Russell, is that when you say you're working with them, is that through largely nutritional methods?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
And Anesthesia and Redox.
I wanted to get into that next because I want to see the segue, because you spent a few decades, recovering or covering for past sins, as it were, and developing it in a nutritional approach, and then all of a sudden something then comes. Can you segue into that and explain how your how that path led to this and why it mattered for you?
Sure, that's a great question, Lee. So I established by the mid 1990s. The program that I use today was established. And back then I talked about 5 root cause areas: mindfulness and hydration and micronutrient deficiencies and macronutrient imbalances, which is your whole foods, and then intestinal dysbiosis, which is the imbalance of the gut flora. And so by literally focusing on those 5 areas, I was able to help hundreds and hundreds of people, basically everyone who wanted help in this area. I could help them learn how to change their diet, how to implement changes in these other 5 root cause areas, and they would recover and they would restore normal functioning to their digestive system. But I think partly because we were moving into the 21st century, the level of environmental pollution, the level of stress, the level of poor quality food, more and more people were getting these problems, and younger people were getting these problems. And what I was seeing in my practice was that it was taking much longer for people to get better. Where it used to take maybe 2 or 3 months, it was starting to take 4 and 5 and 6 months. So around 2010, I started looking around, hoping that there might be something new out there in the world of supplements and health aids to help people heal faster and deeper. And it was right around that time that somebody introduced me to ASEA, and I had actually never heard of redox signaling molecules before, even though I attend these medical conferences all the time and try to keep up on molecular biology and cellular biology. So I had never heard of redox signaling. But once I learned what it was by reading Dr. Gary Samuelson's first book, The Science of Healing Revealed, and after conversations with Dr. Rob Ward and Dr. Gary Samuelson directly, and people like Trish Schwenkler, I realized that this was something very special, that this was indeed a breakthrough technology. And so I started using it myself and then brought it into my practice. And basically, it became an essential tool in my program, as important, now of course I realize more important than all the other pieces that I had discovered along the way. And what I found basically was that people were healing faster, people were healing deeper, people were healing more completely, and then their overall strength and vitality, including and especially their digestive system, was that much stronger, that much more resilient. So they were able to prevent, future flare-ups from occurring.
So, yeah, that's wonderful. And you've got the perspective of, obviously being with hundreds and thousands of people in that regard. There's people perhaps tonight who are watching who will watch this on demand later who may not understand redox. You said you didn't understand it. I certainly didn't know about it. When my wife's physician told us to go get some, I remember looking at him and saying, well, I don't even know what that is. And he said, just go Google it and get some. So I did. He didn't even help me beyond that. And so I did it all on my own. But for those who don't understand what that means, explain what redox signaling is. And then maybe after you do that, why it has such good application, as you just stated, in terms of gut health.
Sure. So first of all, we are fortunate in that we have many great educational tools that do a great job of explaining exactly what redox signaling molecules are with wonderful visuals and everything. So talk to the person who invited you to come here tonight to make sure you access those visual tools, the webinars and videos, etc. But basically, redox signaling molecules, to the best of my understanding, every cell of our body, every healthy cell in our body, inside the cell has little energy factories, and these are called mitochondria. The mitochondria are constantly producing a substance called ATP. And ATP to the cell is like gasoline to a car. It makes the engine go. So ATP fuels all the other little biomachines that are inside the cell. So then the question is, well, what produces the ATP? And the answer to that is redox signaling molecules. The word redox is a made-up word. It's a combination of two words, reductants and oxidants. So there are two types of redox molecules. The redox molecules are functioning at the level of electron transfer. So a cell is very tiny. You can fit 10,000 cells on the head of a pin. So that's how tiny cells are. But inside every cell, if you could actually get inside of a cell, it's like a little city. There's a lot of room inside the cell, and the average cell has something like 25 mitochondria, and really active cells like heart cells can have as many as 5,000 mitochondria. So anyway, so these redox molecules, the reductants and the oxidants, the reductants donate electrons and thereby neutralizing free radical activity. Free radical molecules are disturbing the balance of the molecular structures inside cells. So reductants donate and then balance out the free radicals. Oxidants take away electrons and therefore, or thereby balancing, neutralizing the free radical activity.
The point is redox molecules are absorbed all the way through the GI tract. When it's in your mouth, it's going immediately in through the oral mucosa and down the esophagus and the throat. There's some people that have, and I don't know that I know of any definitive information that says otherwise, but they're worried that organic matter in the contents of the gut would inactivate the redox molecules, and maybe it will, maybe it won't. But what we know is that you can rub this on your skin and get these redox molecules in your systemic circulation, which obviously is going everywhere, including the gut. And so the comment here would be that it doesn't really matter. You can drink it. I'm sure much of it does survive, but it's immediately absorbed and it's getting into the systemic circulation such that its effect on the intestines is happening through the circulatory system, as well as by what winds up actually sloshing into the middle of that, the lumen of that intestinal tract, or a tube, as you say. Your thoughts?
Yeah, so I don't think that the redox liquid, the ASEA, would be deactivated with food. However, I was always taught, and I teach people every day, that the best time to take their first dose of ASEA, and for some people, they only drink their ASEA in the morning, once a day. Some people do it twice a day, and some people do it 3 or 4 times a day. But without question, the most important time to drink ASEA is within minutes of waking up in the morning, before anything else goes into your mouth and before anything else goes into your stomach. And when you drink ASEA, we tell everybody to hold it in your mouth, 1 ounce at a time or 2 ounces at a time, whatever you're comfortable with. Hold it for at least 30 seconds and preferably a little longer. While you're holding it in your mouth, as Lee just said, the redox molecules are going through the mucosa, going through capillaries underneath your tongue, entering the bloodstream, and from there going to all the cells of your body. So it's not like some other beverages that you would drink that need to be processed through the intestine. The redox molecules, while you're holding it in your mouth, will immediately start going into the bloodstream. And when you do swallow it, it will move through the stomach lining and go directly into the blood. So it isn't anything that needs to be digested. It is interesting, though, to suggest that it might be the ASEA, the Redox liquid, might be less effective if you drank it with a stomach full of food. So that is a consideration. So I always recommend that people do it first thing in the morning before anything else. And if you do it later in the day or 2 or 3 times during the day, do so on an empty stomach or a relatively empty stomach. So you probably agree with that, Lee, but is there anything more we want to say about that?
There's a lot of stories out there about people who, wound up with amazing results, but they could not actually swallow it. They were putting it in through a feeding tube, for example, or they were having to spray it or just, rinse it on a sponge in their mouth because they actually couldn't swallow. And, there's at least that anecdotal. I'd like to ask you about something that we hear about a lot called leaky gut and the effect of Redox health on that. Could you comment about the interplay? Again, we're not diagnosing or treating leaky gut, but there's some basic physiological and nutritional dietary factors that even environmental factors that relate to creating leaky gut. And I think that Redox, we'll call it Redox biology, has something to do with that.
By the way, this is water, not ASEA. But I've been known to drink that much ASEA, that's for sure.
Yep.
So leaky gut, the technical word for leaky gut is intestinal permeability. If you can imagine right now that the wall of your intestine is like a brick wall. You have the bricks, and then you have the mortar between the bricks. And so when the brick wall is really healthy and sturdy, nothing gets through that brick wall. You can have a fire in the chimney and the flame and the smoke goes up through the chimney. Nothing gets through the bricks and nothing gets through the mortar. So leaky gut is a situation that happens where toxins inside the intestine, and the toxins are coming from dysbiotic organisms. So we used the word probiotic earlier. You're supposed to have, we're talking about thousands of trillions of organisms in the mouth, in the throat, in the stomach, in the 24 feet of small intestine, 5 to 6 feet of large intestine. So it's an incredible number of organisms. And you're supposed to have 80% of all those organisms be probiotics. And at last count, there are at least 500 different types of probiotics. The probiotic bacteria eat your food, digest your food, and eliminate waste products into your abdominal cavity, into your intestines. Well, the waste products of the probiotics keep everything really healthy. The waste products of the probiotics include all of our B vitamins, which are essential components of our immune system. The waste products of the probiotics include natural antibiotics. The most powerful antibiotics ever discovered are manufactured by the probiotic bacteria. The waste products of the probiotics regulates pH, maintains peristalsis, produces enzymes, produces hormones. So the waste products include a lot of really important and helpful products. So that's the first step. But what happens is, because of antibiotics, because of poor diet, because of dehydration, because of environmental pollution, because of junk food, the balance of the healthy bacteria gets out of balance. And you could have 70-30, you could have 60-40, you could have 50-50, or worse, you could have 20% probiotics and 80% dysbiotics. Bad bacteria, viruses, yeast, mold, fungus, parasites, worms. There's all kinds of terrible, nasty organisms. But these bad organisms eat your food and eliminate waste products. But the waste products of the bad organisms are toxic to your system. And those toxins produce inflammation, gas, bloating, cramping, loose, urgent, frequent bowel movements or constipated bowel movements. The toxins produced by the bad organisms cause inflammation inside the gut, and that's what causes the mortar between the bricks to degenerate, to deteriorate. That's where the holes come from. And when the holes appear in the wall of the intestine, the toxins that are supposed to stay contained in the small intestine or the large intestine leak out into the bloodstream and then become systemic. And then, you open up Pandora's box of every imaginable negative symptom that you can think of. Headaches, mood swings, chronic fatigue, joint pain, and of course, all the digestive system problems. So what we say in functional medicine or functional nutrition is everything is downstream of the microbiome. So if your microbiome is really healthy, then everything else should be healthy. But if your gut is unhealthy, if you have leaky gut, if you have dysbiosis, then you're generally going to have many other problems as well.
How long does it take to turn that around? If someone's coming in and they're really having gut health issues, I mean, is this like a weekend colon cleanse and eat 3 good meals kind of a thing? Or what's your experience on that?
Yeah, it's a great question. It is definitely not something that changes overnight. That's extremely rare. Let me put it this way. I usually tell people that it's definitely going to take at least a month before we see really, really significant improvements. And it's going to take 2 or 3 months to really completely get rid of the faulty microbiome, the unhealthy microbiome, and get to a point where we have a new ecosystem, a new and very healthy and vibrant and resilient microbiome. So those are reasonable numbers, 2 to 3 months for that process from start to finish. Or when I say finish, at that point, we're at the end of what I call phase 1. We've reestablished a new microbiome, but now we still need to be careful going forward. Now, having said that, I am often surprised and astonished at the condition of people when I start working with them. Very serious inflammatory bowel, very extreme type of symptoms. They're very uncomfortable. And once they have all of the pieces of the puzzle, they have the Redox supplement, they have biome, they have the nutritionals, they've changed their diet slightly, they're being better hydrated, they're paying attention to their habits. There are 7 root cause areas and 1 or 2 changes in each of those 7 areas. So let's say that it takes a couple of days, it takes a week to get everything in place. But once everything is in place and you've modified what I call insulting habits and influences and turned them into complementary habits and influences, it's possible, and I've seen this happen 2 or 3 or 4 days into that changeover, people will call me and say, I can't believe it. I just had a normal bowel movement. Or I can't believe it. The gas and bloating is gone. Or I can't believe it. I just slept like a baby. Or my, the discomfort in my joints is dramatically reduced, and on and on and on. So my observation and my belief is that the body wants to be healthy. The body is genetically programmed to heal itself. And as soon as we demonstrate to our body that we're learning how to cooperate more fully and completely with our self-healing mechanisms, guess what? It heals very quickly because it wants to be healthy.
That's great information. And I'm looking at your website, and you've got a statement that says a well-nourished body doesn't make mistakes. But, there's some people who talk about, well, I've been on a SIA for a while and I don't have anything to show for it. Nothing's happening. What I'm hearing you say is this isn't necessarily like a one-trick pony. It's not like it's this one thing is going to fix everything. Talk about the blend or the overlay or the strategy of good core nutrition. It's not like you can sit on the couch and eat Cheetos and drink a SIA and expect that you're going to get healthy. I mean, that might help, but
right. We've all heard stories of people who didn't change their diet and probably were eating poorly, but they added a SIA and they had a miraculous,
and they got better,
remarkable improvement.
Yeah, that was me. Probably within the first 10 days, I noticed, can I say it? My poop changed. I noticed a big difference, and I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't doing it for that. We were doing this for my wife. But I noticed that, along with kind of a clear thinking, sharp mind, better sleep. But that change in my GI habits and routine was very noticeable. However, there's a lot of people who that's not the case. They go month after month after month. And it's like there may be a lot of stones that have to be turned over and fixed. And so this blending of just good common sense, but the right kind of nutrition, right? And a what I call a biooxidative or a redox biology type diet with perhaps, the supplemented, whole food nutritional nutrients, that all comes together. Can you speak to that? What happens if it doesn't happen according to your expectations? What do you do?
So, I think those of us who've been around for a long time, helping people improve, we know there's no such thing as a panacea. There's no magic bullet. There's no silver bullet. There's no one thing, generally speaking, that you can do that facilitates a dramatic or significant improvement in your health. However, as many of us have observed in the ASEA community, this is the closest thing to a panacea that most of us have ever seen. Because of what you said, we know people who eat Cheetos and they drink ASEA and they got better. They had a significant improvement. And that's because there isn't anything more fundamental to the operation of every cell in your body than redox signaling. Now, oxygen is probably superior to redox, but the redox, part of redox, OX, is oxidant. So we need oxygen, we need water, we need hydration, we need micronutrients, we need macronutrients. So, I talk about 7 root cause areas, and they're true. They just are true. These are the 7 areas that we need to learn about so that we can make obvious changes so that our body is getting what it needs in each of these areas. And if you will do that, if people will do that, and they take ASEA, they will get results. Now, the other thing, very important thing to say is, even if you don't feel anything, you're getting results. And the scientific studies demonstrate this. So even if somebody is taking ASEA correctly and consistently and using Renew correctly and consistently, and they're saying that they don't feel anything, we can say, I hear you, I understand, but they are getting results. And we've heard lots of stories in the community about that, how people didn't know how the redox molecules were helping them and improving them until they found out later through some interesting test or health experience. So without question, right here, right next to my hand here, we all discovered at the beginning of ASEA that if there's one thing, in addition to drinking ASEA and using Renew, that we want to encourage people to do to dramatically increase the likelihood of them experiencing, for them noticing results, is to be better hydrated. Okay? So that is absolutely universal. And then, of course, if you can encourage people to exercise common sense. I always tell people in my lectures and when I'm meeting people for the very first time, I say, take out 2 pieces of paper. And on one piece of paper, write down all the things that you know without reading another book, without hearing another lecture, without talking to a practitioner, you know are not good for your health. These are things I call insults. So put the word insult on the top of that piece of paper and start writing down all the insulting things that you do, all the insulting things that you eat, all the insulting things that you drink. And you don't have to show it to anybody, so just be honest. And then on another piece of paper, write down all the healthy things that you do, all the complementary foods, habits, behaviors, supplements, projects, activities that you do. Okay? And basically, everyone can do that exercise. And if everyone would take a serious look at the insults and either minimize the negative impact of those insults, and in some cases, stop doing some of those insulting things, like junk food. There's certain things that people already know they should do and they can do. And if they make those type of changes while they're wanting to improve their health by adding Redox and our nutritional line, then absolutely they will have significant benefits. But again, whether they notice it or not. But when you start looking at these other root cause areas, you do dramatically increase the likelihood that you're going to notice finally that things are really dramatically improving.
So on that dramatic improvement, the question was asked earlier in the chat. It's like, how do you transform the biome? You can say, well, do bacteria have redox powers themselves? Am I sterilizing the bad bacteria like you would think of an antibiotic killing bad bacteria? What is the control? If you could speak to what do I coming into the game today? How do I control the ratio of the bacteria? Is it just drinking ASEA, taking probiotics, eating prebiotics, or in a month's time, how can I shift it to an 80-20 favorable ratio, for example?
Yeah, so it's a great question. It's an important question. And the answer is that by doing all the things that you just said, being hydrated, taking probiotics, taking prebiotics, eating healthy foods, getting enough sleep and rest, doing all the healthy things, all of that increases the health of the probiotics. And as the probiotics duplicate in your intestines, they're going to go after the bad bacteria and other unhealthy organisms and kill them. The other benefit of drinking ASEA using the Redox supplement and our nutritional line is you're going to strengthen your immune system. Now, 70 to 80% of the antibody-producing cells of our immune system are manufactured in specialized glands in the lining of our intestines. So when we say we're strengthening our immune system or improving our immune system, the origin of that is in the intestines. So when you improve your immune system, there are upwards of 30 different types of immune cells. They're all going to be galvanized. They're all going to go after the bad organisms in your system, including parasites. Somebody had emailed a question earlier in the day about how does redox molecules address a situation where somebody has parasites? Well, partly directly by improving the health of the probiotics, improving the health of that organ, the intestinal area, but also by improving the function, improving the health of all the components of our immune system, all the different types of immune system cells. The immune system knows that these bad organisms in your gut don't belong there. And so they're going to methodically go after them, kill them, and dismantle them, and clear them out of your system. And the human body has an almost infinite capacity to regenerate and heal itself once we start cooperating with it. Now, having said all of that, there are some situations that are very extreme, and the microbiome is really out of balance, and it may not respond to changes, all the type of changes that we just listed. So in those situations, I use a group of very specialized herbs that will go into the microbiome and literally safely kill off the bad organisms, neutralize the toxins being produced by those organisms, and then safely kill them, and then literally incorporate all those dead bodies into the bowel movement. And so every time you have a bowel movement, you're getting rid of more and more of these bad organisms. So sometimes, not always, but sometimes that is necessary to do that. But just to make this one last point, in the medical literature, there's something now called fecal transplants. I'm not a fan of fecal transplants because you're getting other people's DNA. When you take somebody else's bacteria from their poop, you're getting a lot of information there that's unique to that person. Anyway, there are examples of people with very serious dysbiosis, very serious imbalances of their gut microbiome, and they take some literal fecal transplant pills that contain the bacteria from the bowel movement material of a healthy person, and within weeks, their microbiome starts to clear and improve. Okay? So it is possible by the introduction of healthy bacteria that over time, that whole system will improve and be healthier than ever.
I think that's a principle that's common in the mouth. The other end of the alimentary tract here is we've got good bacteria, bad bacteria, and you can switch with antimicrobials and Listerine and whatever, which isn't all that effective. But anyway, beside the point, you can do that all day long, and you can have a greater impact by changing the environment and keeping the pH under control in the mouth. That will automatically select and in favor, the healthy bacteria that will out-predominate. They will out-compete the bad bacteria, which they don't go away 100%, but they're not going to thrive. So,
right. So 20% or less, no problem. And the healthiest human being on planet Earth can have a parasite or two in their system, but because their immune system is so healthy, it doesn't allow the parasite or the other bad organisms to get a foothold. So, and you asked a very important question, or somebody asked a question, how do you keep it at that 80-20? How does somebody keep it at that ideal balance of 80% probiotics and 20% or less dysbiotic? And the quick answer to that question is by making the necessary changes in the 7 root cause areas, by getting rid of all the insulting habits and behaviors, or most of them, and really learning what the most important complementary habits and behaviors and foods and beverages and supplements are, so that your body can reestablish that 80-20 balance and then maintain it.
So tell everybody where they can learn more about those 7 core key areas.
Great. So you can go to our website, the Center for Functional Nutrition.net, and you can download a PDF called The Roots of Health, which explains the 7 root cause areas. Or you could buy my book, Principle Eating, The No Diet Way to Complete Health.
Hold it up one more time so they can see the cover.
Oh,
they know what to look for. Okay, so there's the cover. You can go on Amazon.com and find that, The No Diet Way to Complete Health, Russell Mariani.
Right.
And they can learn about those 7 key things there.
Yes. And one of the 7 root cause areas is redox signaling molecule imbalances and deficiencies. So I talked about that in the book.
You've worked that into one of the 7.
Yes. Yes, yes. Once it's true, it is one of the root cause areas. I didn't know that until 10 years ago. And then absolutely, it's one of the root cause areas. I just wanted to say that, yes, we have the book, but also I wanted to announce that just within the last 30 days, we were able to produce the audiobook version of this book. So again, if you go to the website or go to Amazon, you can buy the book, the ebook, and the audiobook. So I do talk about redox signaling. I do not mention ASEA, but I do talk about redox signaling, and it's clear, especially to anybody in the ASEA community, that I'm talking about ASEA Redox, the drink, and Renew 28, the topical gel.
So Russell, in your view then, I mean, I think you probably answered just from what you just said. How important or how big do you think this is really going to be? You know, even in your industry, with your specialized focus in health the way it is, as we look over the next 5 to 10 years, is that seventh pillar, as it were, is that going to be recognized widely? How big is this going to be?
Yes, I think this will, in 5 to 10 years, this will be mainstream. In the same way that everybody knows today that you should take a multivitamin, multi-mineral supplement. I mean, you know, when I started this, I started taking probiotic supplements in 1990. But I promise you, when I did that, I was probably in less than 5% of the population who knew about that and were doing that. So that's probably where we are when it comes to redox. You know, definitely less than 5% of the global population, probably less than 1%, knows about redox signaling supplements. Lots of scientists know about redox signaling. So we've been at this for 11 or 12 years now, and we've made whatever inroads we've made. But definitely over the next 5 to 10 years, I think this will be huge. It will be, because we have an opportunity to make a major impact in millions and millions of people's lives. Because in the same way everybody needs water, in the same way everybody needs sleep and rest, in the same way everybody needs to eat food, everybody needs redox signaling molecules because they are deficient. So we can help everyone.
Well, this has been a fast 58, 60 minutes, and it's been a delight to have you on with us talking about some topic matter here that everybody owns, everybody worries about it and is concerned about it, or has somebody in their own family that is touched by it. And your comments and your insights have been well received, and the comments that are coming in on the chat just talk about how amazing it is, and they're headed off to Amazon to get some more information. We thank you for joining with us. Jim, you're on. We appreciate you being able to control the master switch here. Russell and I have had a great conversation, and
Guy, listen to the last 10 minutes of this call, and it was absolutely phenomenal. And again, Russell, thank you so much. Lee, I can't wait to listen to the whole recording. And I just had an idea, guys, what we need to do. Lee, we need to have a resource site that we can start listing, like your book, where we're going to have a dedicated show to that, and Russell with your book. So I think we're going to work on that. So next week we have Dr. Carolyn Hoffman, who is also, like Russell, she is a fan favorite. So I'm going to highly recommend to go tell all of your friends and family and those that you care about to come back and learn more about these amazing redox signaling molecules. Join our volunteer redox army to go share the truth with the world. And Russell, I think you mentioned 1% of the people know about this. We're way below that. We're way below 1%. We're probably 0.0001. So guys, we have a lot of people to share this with. And because it is network marketing, we have the duty, right, Russell and Lee, to go out and share this with everybody that we know, love, and care about. So guys, thank you so much. Lee, thank you so much. Russell, we'll have you back next quarter. Russell is obviously one of our fan favorites. So thank you guys very much.